And we're the gang that are holding people back from lunch. So I see the timer up here, but I'm going to do our best to get us as close to 12:30 because I'm hungry. The other thing I do need to share, that construction and banging is actually not in the hotel. So the hotel is doing the best that they can. But I'm moderating a panel. It makes sense that jackhammering would start. Seems on brand. I'm really excited to be here to have this conversation. Unfortunately, our colleague Michael, just something came up. He wasn't able to join us today. But I am really pleased to have Chandra Pottle here from Invest Nova Scotia and Neil Gabriel from Kainos. And we are going to talk a bit about building bridges to growth, connection. And as we all know, growth doesn't happen in isolation. I certainly know one of the things that I had learned in my previous role working in the provincial government is that we could not build our capacity on our own. It happened through relationships and through partnerships. And organizations like Invest Nova Scotia, Invest Northern Ireland, they play a key role in helping us to expand the capacities in our regions and doing that in a more intentional and efficient way. So we couldn't do that work alone. So I have personal lived experience with how important those organizations and their relationships are. And I think in today's context, those relationships and connections globally are even more important. And so what the other piece that I think is really interesting is that we're not just talking about it in theory. Partnerships and relationships from organizations like Invest have led to real on-the-ground change and examples of bridges, and that's the Kainos and Davis Pierce story that I'm hoping we'll get a chance to share. So Chandra, maybe give us a little bit of an overview of the kinds of things an organization like Invest Nova Scotia does to support the economy and business development.
Great, thanks Natasha, good context. So for those of you who don't know, Invest Nova Scotia is the lead business development agency for the province of Nova Scotia. So we're really tasked with growing the economy. We do that across a couple of different pillars in the organization. So we do everything from find, fund, and foster early stage companies. We operate a VC fund. We have accelerators and incubators around the city to help companies get a leg up when they're first starting or first arriving in Nova Scotia from abroad. We also help companies grow and scale, diversify markets, export to new places, grow new product lines, all of those things. And then certainly my favorite part of what we do is the work that I do on the FDI team. And that really, for those who don't know, foreign direct investment, it's a partnership game. And it really is what Natasha said. It's about building relationships and bridges around the world so that we can take Nova Scotia to the world, that companies can choose Nova Scotia to grow and scale. So maybe with that, I think that's a good segue to let Neil introduce himself and what Kainos is and what Kainos does, and we can get back to it.
Thanks, Chandra. Hello, everybody. So yes, I'm the regional director for Kainos in the Americas, big focus on Canada. Based in Toronto, so I moved there with my family five years ago. Time has gone by super fast. Before that, very much lived and worked in the UK, in London. But you can probably tell by the accent that I'm Scottish by background. So wanted to just describe, I suppose, why did we choose Halifax, right? And I'm slightly biased because of my accent and my background, and a place called Nova Scotia has a certain appeal, obviously. And when I come here, it certainly feels much like I'm coming home. The people make it a great place to come and visit, so thank you for that. The weather is also very similar. It's super dreary, and yes, I've been freezing the last 2 days, so looking forward to getting back to Toronto.
We did that just for you.
It does make me feel at home. So, but Kainos doesn't let me choose a location to hire people based on that bias alone. We've got a bit of a process and a procedure that we go through, and we're roughly 4,000 people now globally, and we're across many different locations, but our three key locations where the bulk of our people are, so Belfast in Northern Ireland where we were founded, Gdansk in Poland, and then most recently Halifax. So we've got 150 people here now locally, so something very, very happy about. And there's a lot of parallels between those cities. So just thinking it through, they're by coincidence all port cities with a major background in shipbuilding. That is really interesting. That wasn't deliberate, but surely there's some sort of bias in us as people. But when we pick a location, it's really about the cultural fit of the people. And I think location drives a lot of that. It's what differentiates us as a company as well, the attitude of our people. Our customers call that out. It's the hardest thing for me to articulate what I mean by that or write it down. It's also very hard to, select a place based on it. But when you come here to Halifax, it comes across in droves. And it's also very hard to say no to Chandra, So Chandra is a great advocate for the region, and you're lucky to have her. So yeah, she very much encouraged us to set up here, and we organically grew to about 35 here locally very quickly, and then with bringing Dave's Pier into the group, we're more like 150.
Oh, that's great. And I think that, the topic of today is about building bridges, and a concept that has come up a lot yesterday and today is around trust. And I don't think anybody gets on a bridge that they don't trust. And so it really is, for us here in Nova Scotia, we're a small jurisdiction in the big scheme of things. And so we look to build those relationships abroad with jurisdictions that are going to find synergy here, that are aligned in their own value prop, in their culture, in their values, and in their economy and in their sectors. And I think, you just heard about the alignment here. We're a highly educated workforce. We, geographically, we're in the right place for Kainos and a lot of other investments that are landing here in Nova Scotia. So the work that we do is about strengthening those relationships. I spend a lot of time in front of other governments, in front of other partners around the world, and really just sharing what it is that makes Nova Scotia punch above our weight, really be successful in our key priority sectors. And, see companies like Kainos not just come and grow, but form partnerships. We see mergers, joint ventures, investments in research. I mean, it spans the whole gamut of what a foreign company brings into our ecosystem when they choose Halifax. So it's really important, the work that we do with Invest Northern Ireland. It's unfortunate that Michael couldn't be here today, but we talk regularly, and I talk with other investment attraction agencies across the world on a regular basis. And you might think, but aren't they your competitors? It's kind of a frenemy game in investment attraction, right? Every company that is investing in another country, in another jurisdiction, is a domicile company somewhere, They're somebody's domestic company. And so here at Invest, because we span the whole gamut, we're helping companies grow and expand, right? That means moving outside the region, maybe opening offices in another country. And so ensuring that we have the right partners and the right trust and the right framework in place to help our companies go abroad and be successful. Invest Northern Ireland would help them step into that role in Europe, be that landing space, support our companies. And likewise, when Northern Ireland companies are looking at Canada, they see an open gateway, an open door, a culture that's ready and willing to help them scale and be successful. And we're as invested in their success as we are in our own domestic companies. So it's a two-way street, trade and investment. It's never just one way.
That's awesome. And I also love how this panel is just moderating itself. It's actually making, I knew this was a possibility. These are two incredible panelists. I just have, maybe a couple of questions I will toss out. The first one being, and maybe Neil or Chandra, both of you can weigh in, like how did an organization like Invest NI and Invest Nova Scotia kind of help with that decision or support the decision that was made to expand here into Nova Scotia and into Canada?
So I'll say, I think the first introduction came, Michael said, hey, we've got one of our really front-running companies looking at Canada and they want to expand their footprint. Nova Scotia, I've been telling them to look at Nova Scotia. And that's where it started. So it started with having the relationship with Northern Ireland first. They trusted Nova Scotia to help Kainos. And then the information sharing started and the conversations started. So I'll let you talk to what you were looking for when you worked with Northern Ireland.
Yeah, so our relationship would have started with Invest Northern Ireland, a long time ago, before we were even in Canada, and we're obviously well over 200 people in Canada now. And Michael Barton would have engaged with us back in Belfast to very much encourage us to come here as a company and set up. And he would have facilitated coming on trade visits, meeting potential customers, talking to government, and meeting people like Chandra. And then since we came over, we'd be meeting with them every week. He's helping make a success of the business for us here. And yes, he did the introduction to Chandra, which was a key step, and off the back of that, we've invested here locally. So if you're a business here, I'd very much encourage you to reach out and use these organizations. As a taxpayer, I wasn't aware they existed, and it's just tremendous to see that they're there and the support that they give businesses. And indeed, we're super encouraged going, if you're a local business here, having a think about the UK and Belfast being a great location, and Chandra and the team will help you with that. And it's a great route into the UK and Europe as well. So we'd encourage you to do that and come and speak to me. Happy to share all of our stories too.
No, that's excellent. And Neil, just one last question. I know it's still really early days, but since bringing Kainos and Davis Pier together, what are you noticing is meaningfully different, and what can you do now that you couldn't do before?
So it's a great question, and it's very interesting because it aligns with a lot of the conversation so far in this event. I think Hillary talked yesterday about the need to focus on policy and not just do the technology solution. And we've seen that as well in all of our work in the UK, is when you combine being able to actually really understand the policy intent and be able to change the policy and test that with users using things like behavioral science, and then combine that with the ability to deliver technology solutions, that's the thing that makes a big, big difference. And together, Davis Pier and Kainos can do both of those things. So Davis Pier, very good at the policy, understanding what government is trying to achieve. Kainos will come in and help with then how can technology help enable that and do it in the fastest, quickest way possible. Because what motivates us is the actual outcomes. In the UK, it's the fact that you can get your passport, you use your phone to do it. There's no photo booths, there's no signatures. 3 days later, the passport's in the letterbox. When it comes to healthcare here, you heard from Scott McKenna around some of the work that we're doing with Nova Scotia Health, having real impact to citizens with the app, but also to clinicians, right, and making the health of people here more important. So that's what we can bring as two companies together, and we have the shared mission really to make things better for citizens and businesses in Canada.
Awesome. So I committed to wrapping a little early to get us closer to lunch, so I'm going to hold to my commitment. We wanted to really just give you a bit of an exposure to what organizations like Invest Nova Scotia and Invest Northern Ireland can offer. My hunch is lots of folks knew about them, but maybe some folks didn't know the scale and scope, and give some practical examples on the ground of the impact that can have. And as I said at the outset, given the global context we're working in, given the level of disruption that's happening, having these partnerships and relationships globally for our companies here in Nova Scotia and beyond are really important. So thanks, everyone. I think I'm back to Matt. I'm not the mod, I'm not the link person, so over to you to wrap things up.
Thanks, Natasha.